Hello guys, welcome to Code with BK. So in this video, we look at the problem to find the largest and smallest element in an array. So this looks like a trivial problem, but I have had many students who were beginners and they had issues understanding this problem. So in the first half, I'm going to explain you the solution, and in the next half, we are going to look at the codes. So if you're someone who is just looking for codes, there are links to the codes in the description of this video, and to each link, there is a text explanation as well. So if you're someone who wants to read and understand, you can take a look at that as well. Okay, so what do I mean by the largest and smallest element in an array? Okay, so if I have an array like this, so I have an array with 6 locations, n is the size of this array, and the values are 8, 10, 3, 2, 149. So let's look at how do we find the largest first. So intuitively, it is very clear that 100 is the largest. Largest is 100. Breaking this step a little further, what you actually did was you compared all the values and then came up with 100 as the largest. So basically saying you picked up 8 and 10. Okay, you said 10 is the larger one. With this 10, you compare the next 3. Okay, you say 10 is still the larger one. You compare this 10 with the next value 2. You say 10 is the larger one. You compare this 10 with the next value 100. You say larger is now 100. Okay, then you compare 100. This last value 49. You say largest is 100. So we can think of this value as the largest so far. So the largest so far for the first 2 values is 10. Largest so far for the first 3 values is 10. Largest so far for the first 4 values is 10. Largest so far for the first 5 values is 100. And the largest for this entire array for the 6 values is 100. So this is what we code in our solution. We write the same steps in our code. So I say function, okay, largest takes in an integer array ARR and n, which is the size of this array. So we start with something called largest. So this is the largest so far. I initialize it to 0 and I use a for loop to iterate this array. So I say for I is equal to 0 to I is less than n. In each iteration, if ARR of I is greater than the largest so far, okay, I update largest to ARR of I, and then I return the largest. So let us run this algorithm on this array. So I values largest I, ARR of I, and this condition ARR of I greater than largest, and I takes values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Starting with I is equal to 0, ARR of I is 8, okay. 8 is greater than largest, 8 is greater than 0 is true. You set largest to ARR of I, largest becomes 8 now. You move on to the next value of I is 1, ARR of 1 is 10. ARR of I greater than largest, 10 is greater than 8 is true. You set largest to ARR of I, largest is now 10. Okay, you move on to the next value of I, which is 2. ARR of 2 is 3. 3 is greater than largest, 3 is greater than is false. You skip this if body, move on to the next value of I, which is 3. ARR of 3 is 2. ARR of I greater than largest, 2 is greater than 10 is false. You skip this if body, move on to the next value of I, which is 4. ARR of 4 is 100. 100 greater than largest is true. Okay, you set largest to ARR of I, largest is 100. You move on to the next value of I, which is 5. ARR of 5 is 49. 49 is greater than largest, 49 is greater than 100 is false. You come out of the for loop and you return largest, so your largest is 100. So largest is 100, which is correct. Let's take another example array. So this is another example array on which we are going to run this algorithm, okay? And it's also 6 in this case. This has 6 locations. So let me just reset this and we can run this again. Okay, so in this case also we have largest initialized to 0 and I starts with 0, takes value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for n equal to 6. Okay, ARR of I is minus 8. Minus 8 is greater than 0 is false. You skip this if body, move on to the next value of I, which is 1. ARR of 1 is minus 10. Minus 10 is greater than 0 is false. You move on to the next value of I. ARR of 2 is minus 3. Minus 3 is greater than 0 is false. Move on to the next value of I, which is 3. ARR of 3 is minus 1. Minus 1 is greater than 0. Okay, is false. Move on to the next value of I. ARR of 4 is minus 4. Minus 4 is greater than 0 is false. Move on to the next value of I. Okay. ARR of 5 is minus 6. Minus 6 is greater than 0 is false. Okay. So when you come out of the for loop, your largest value is 0 for this array, which is wrong. So what went wrong here is basically this condition was never true. You see, this was always false. This was because our largest was initialized to 0, which is already greater than all the other values. So this condition is never going to be true. So you have to initialize largest to a value which is less than equal to the largest in this array. Or in simple words, largest should be initialized to one of these values in this array, or in the simplest case, set largest to the first value in the array, and then start comparing from the next location. Now let's run with this. Okay, so largest is set to ARR of 0, which is -8. So largest is -8, and let me just clear all this. Running this array again, but setting largest to ARR of 0 this time. Okay, and I starts with 1 and takes values 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. ARR of I is this. Okay, which is -10. -10 is greater than -8. False. Okay, you skip the if part, move on to the next value of 5, which is 2. ARR of 2 is -3. -3 is greater than largest. -3 is greater than -8 is true. You set largest to -3. You move on to the next value of I3. ARR of 3 is -1. -1 is greater than -3 is true. You set largest to -1. Move on to the next value of I. -4 is ARR of 4. -4 is greater than -1. False. You skip this if part, move on to the next value of I5. You have -6 as ARR of 5. -6 is greater than -1 is false. Okay, you come out of the for loop, your largest is -1, which you return, which is the correct value in this case. So the entire idea of telling this is that you should initialize largest to one of the values in the set from which you have to find the largest. Typically it is the first value, and it is the easiest way to remember that. So very similar is the idea to find the smallest. Okay, so if I ask you to find the smallest, you say 2. Again, breaking that into steps. Between 8 and 10, 8 is the smaller one. Between 8 and 3, 3 is the smaller one. Between 3 and 2, 2 is the smaller one. Between 2 and 100, 2 is the smaller one. Between 2 and 49, 2 is the smaller one. So you have 2 as the smallest value. Okay, so coding this very similar idea to find the smallest, I have function smallest takes an integer array ARR, and n, which is the size of this array, returns the smallest. So I set smallest to 0. Using a for loop to iterate this array, for I equal to 0 to I is less than n. If ARR of I is less than smallest so far, okay, you set smallest to ARR of I. Okay, and then you finally return. Okay, we just change this if condition, okay, so that we update the smallest value. So running this code for these two sample cases again, I have smallest instead of largest now, and I have this condition changed to AI less than smallest. So running this for this array first, and this has 6 locations, so I take 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We start with smallest as 0, okay, I is 0, ARR of I is 8. 8 is less than smallest, 8 is less than 0 is false. You skip if body, move on to the next value of I. ARR of 1 is 10, 10 is less than 0 is false. You skip the if body, move on to the next value of I. 2, ARR of 2 is in this case 3, 3 is less than 0 is false. You move on to the next value of I, which is 3. ARR of 3 is 2, okay, 2 is less than 0 is false again. You move on to the next value of I. Okay, ARR of 4 is 100, 100 is less than 0 is false. Move on to the next value of I. 5, you have ARR of 5 as 49, 49 is less than 0 is false. Okay, you come out of the for loop, your smallest is 0, and you return it. So smallest comes out to be 0 in this case, which is wrong again. So again, the best idea is to initialize smallest to one of the values in this array, typically the smallest one, and then you begin with the first index. So the idea remains the same, that this condition should be true at least once, and if it is not, then the first value in the array should be the smallest. So let me run this again for this case, okay. So smallest is ARR of 0 now, so ARR of 0 is 8, okay. I begins at 1 now, ARR of I is 10, okay. 10 is less than smallest, false. You move on to the next value of I. 2, ARR of 2 is 3, 3 is less than 8 is true, so you set smallest to ARR of 5, so smallest is 3. Move on to the next value of I. 3, ARR of 3 is 2, 2 is less than 3 is true, you set smallest to ARR of I, smallest becomes 2 now. Move on to the next value of I, ARR of 4 is 100, 100 is less than smallest is false. Move on to the next value of I becomes 5, ARR of 5 is 49, 49 is less than smallest is false. You come out of the for loop, you return smallest, and the smallest is 2 in this case. So in case you're not given these set of values, okay, and you don't know what to initialize smallest to, so smallest should be set to the largest possible value of that particular data type in that programming language. So this is how you find the smallest and largest value in an array. So I hope this video was helpful. So please do like this video and subscribe to my channel, and let's move on to checking the codes now. So this is the implementation of the solution we discussed. So I've written a function find largest that takes an integer array ARR and int n, the size of the array, and returns the largest. Similarly, I've written a function find smallest that takes an integer array ARR and the size of the array and returns the smallest. A helper method to print the array. So let me run this. Java C find dot Java find. So the largest is 100 and smallest is 2. So if I make all the values negative, the answer is still going to be correct. So you can see largest is -2 and smallest is -100. So I hope this video was helpful. So please do like this video and subscribe to my channel, and please let me know in the comments if there is anything not clear to in this video, if there is a concept you want me to discuss, or if there is a question you want me to solve. Thank you.